What's up, everyone? Just doing a little review here. This would be like a part one and part two um, of the Annihilator broadhead. This is 100 grain, shooting him out of an easton axis arrow. Um, you can see with my field tips, if I can get them to cooperate with me, um, almost the same height as the field tip. Drop this here. However, it shoots surprisingly consistent. I got these last night. I was shooting them at 20 yards and they were touching the tips, or the arrows were touching. And took my pig hunting this morning. Didn't see a pig, but I did shoot it at 60 yards 3 times, I believe it was, into some dirt. And I noticed it wasn't shooting exactly where my field tips were. I've been shooting the severs and having no issues with that. They were hitting exactly where I wanted them to be. However, this one, being that it is a fixed blade and a little bit more resistance up front, it is consistently shooting to the left for me. And unfortunately, when I got the VXR, my press doesn't work on it, so I can't really do much of any of the major bow tuning or any sort of thing with that. I did some of the rest tuning, and I got it close, but it always wanted to stay off to the left. So I got a set of strings coming in. They're the gas strings, and so when those come in, I'm going to take it down, get the top hat swapped out and the new string on it, and I'll be able to shoot this a little bit more. But super impressed with this head, how stout it is. Typically you shoot something into the dirt a couple times, it's gonna really muff up the blade, but this did not have any issues with that. There's a little nick somewhere right there, but I think that was when I dropped it. So what they do mention is this steel that they use, it does rust fairly easy. I took it out, shot it this morning a couple times, and it did rust by the time I got home. However, they do mention that in their instructions, and you just hit it with a little bit of gun oil or mineral oil and just keep it lubricated. But once you hit it, you hone it back up, rust comes off the blade, and you're good as new. The one thing I did notice, again, this is with the easton axis. These are the pro match ones that I got, but I noticed there's a little bit of noise coming off them. They're not super loud, but it's noticeable, definitely noticeable. It sounds very similar to what you would get if a vein was starting to come unglued from your arrow. That sound. It's very faint, but it is something that I did notice shooting this. Other than that, it flies very well. I had my bow, it's just on center shot, set up like that, shoots my severs great, shoots my field tips great, so I can go back and forth. But I've always wanted to have a good fixed blade, just as a backup. And I was shooting the quad Exodus for a while, and I love those heads. They're awesome. They do a lot of damage. However, shooting it out of the VXR with the way it's set up now, it's a 75-pound bow, and with that top hat not adjust the way it should be, the quad Exodus were shooting very erratic. This head right here, the Annihilator, is 100 grain, shooting super consistent, always right in the same spot. It's just no matter which way I moved the rest, it was gonna stay that same distance away from my field tip. And so definitely think that it's a top hat issue, and when I get the strings in, I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to do another review. But this right here is a super impressive head. I don't hunt anything that's super skittish. The black-tailed deer aren't very skittish. Turkeys and pigs aren't very skittish as well. But if you're shooting a whitetail or an access, if you're hunting those, this sound off of this might actually allow them to jump the string a little bit, or even just jump the flight of the air, depending on how heavy your arrow is. My arrows are 530 grains. It's a 30-inch arrow. They have a 30-inch draw, 75 pounds. These are the 260 spine. So it's a heavy arrow, and it's ripping out of there pretty good. But yeah, this will be a part 1 of 2 or 3 or whatever. But when I get the top hat swapped out and the new strings on the VXR, I'll be doing another one. But until then, super awesome. They're not super expensive. Guys are super cool, and the design's really, really awesome. Just shooting it into my Reinhardt target, you can see that it'll do a good amount of damage on an animal. So again, the only gripe that I guess have about it is a little loud, but nowhere near where it'd be an issue for me. And then also having to oil it. It rusted fairly quickly this morning. But I mean, you just hit the edges on a stone and put a little bit of oil on it, and you'd be right as rain. So, all right, I hope that helped anybody. I'll be having another one here soon, maybe next week, and I'll update you guys. But until then, hope you guys are having a good one.